Good morning. I'm just going to fit the new reverse sensors and then mount the camera as well. I'm going to put it at the back of the step, I think. That's nice and solid now. That's not moving anywhere. I'll tidy that one's wires up in a minute. So I need to take this light out, remove these old sensors, clip all the wires, fish the new stuff through, and just wire it in. I had to extend the sensor cable, so that's just a 3-wire. So I'm just going to use some alarm cable to extend that. So I'll piece that in a minute. I think this is 6-core, is it? But it's all similar, so that can get used for that. I'll solder them up and tape them, they'll be fine. I'm going to make a bracket to mount to the bottom of the step, and I think I'm going to use his old door plate or a section of it and mount it that way, so that'll fix up, and I'll bond it and fix it up into the tube under the step. I'm going to keep the step and then I'll treat that off. It's powder coated at the minute, but I'll treat it and paint it. So I'm going to get these out of here and put the new ones in. I may have to extend them holes, and then I'm going to make a small plate that'll sit central. Yeah, that'll be right. It'll hold the camera and the 2 reverse sensors. So I've made a little aluminium bracket. I've just taken one of the old sensors out and opened up the bore. They're dead easy. They come marked with this way is up somewhere. Oh, they did. This one did. There you go. On the back, up, donut. There's with a little hole saw, this one. There we go. And through it comes. Right. Up is that way. I'll look at that in a minute. Camera's mounted, sensors, the new ones are all mounted. My little plates worked out well. Camera needs straightening up, but I'll do that shortly. I'm going to feed the wires up through and fish them back up now. Tidy up and cable tie the wires down here. I'm going to have to extend this one, so I'll use that end one and shorten it. And I'll get the box in and extend the power lead. Well, there we have it. Fitted them all in. Had to take them all out, pack it all back up, because it doesn't work. It just gives ghost readings all the time. It doesn't matter what position you put the sensors in, where they're away. I moved everything away from the wall. I've took the sensors out and tested it without the sensors in. It's just ghosting all the time. Waste of a day. Waste of a day. Maximus, what are you doing?
Nothing. What are you doing?
At least I feel like I've achieved something today. Oh, the cameras are in and working, so I can see behind us. That's cam 1. Cam 2 is the overhead looking down. Then the split screen, so I can see both. And back to 1 for reversing and backing up. But yeah, pretty easy if you just want to plug it into your port there. Suction cup to the windscreen. It's got an extendable arm. There's the monitor. Cam 1 I've mounted under the step. And cam 2 I've mounted on the roof. There's the peel.
"72 hours later."
It looks massive again. I've taken Maximus's bed out this afternoon. I've put shelf handles on. Number 1, so she can have a look at them. And number 2, so I can actually open the doors. Obviously, they all need cutting back, but they're all templated out and in. I've got some of the 2mm, 4mm. Can't remember. 4mm, I think this one was. Yeah, 4mm foam to wrap around here. First bit on. That runs pretty much the length of his bed. There's already foam in underneath that section there, so I can then carpet all this in now, ready for some ply to line this side out, and that can be painted. I've done all the way along now on Maximus's side. Michelle's just come home. I've done this side, which is our side, but these rolls were not 2 meters long each. One was 170 and one was 185. So,
Have you showed them the handles?
hence there. Yes, I've shown you handles, but I've put them on just to sample them.
Right then.
These are good. These are good.
When can we paint? When can we get the floor?
The shower's last on my list, I think. So there's a little diagram on the front. At rest, 3 and 4 are connected and 5 and 6 are connected, and you can see that will be these 2 pins here and these 2 pins here. And then under load, under power, once power's running through the coil, 2 moves to 3, or 3 moves to 2, as it were. So we can demonstrate that with a meter. Flip it around onto continuity. I've just put some new batteries in, so it starts and goes round in a circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if we just work on this side, 3 and 4 are contact when no power is present. So if I go to 1, 2, 3, pins 3, and 4, you can see there's continuity between the 2 there. So that for me will be where I power. Let's just move that now. He's opened that. So let's just break that. So that for me will be where I put my line. So basically, when I go and plug into mains, I want this to disconnect. So when it plugs into mains, there you go, you can see that's switched. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you can see it's moved from 3 to 4 to 2 to 3. So that's no longer contacting. And when I turn power off, there you go, on, off. So at rest, which is where we'll be most of the time, I'll have this, it'll be isolated in terms of the fact that that will just be sat at rest. Then when I plug into a site, that will break my neutral, no, there we go. That will break my neutral to negative bond and allow this then to run as pass-through. Now you can see that switch happens pretty quickly, so I'm happy with that. That will work fine. And as you probably just heard, Maximus said tea, so I'm going to go and have some tea. A few days have passed since I was out last, and I've just come out and wired it in. We had family commitments. So as it sits now, this is just a standard Renogy setup. It's not negative neutral bonded because the breaker's off. Now this is the relay. It's a non-latching, so it springs back when it's off power, and this just is creating a permanent circuit here. You can see over to this side, this links as I showed just before. Now I'll switch this on this breaker, and that immediately switches that over to neutral earth bonded safe, and that will trip. Let's just break this circuit because it does trip all the way back through. That will trip that breaker, no problem, trip, nice and safe. So what this does, what this non-latching relay does, is when I turn or when we connect to shore power. So we'll plug in here, this will be permanently on. That will energize this relay, and this relay will move and switch. You see the green? It's all the way over there. You see the relay? You can't see both in the same shot. So anyway, I'll switch this, that will move the relay like that. And that immediately turns that neutral negative bond off, and then this will then go through its procedure to auto switch, and there we go, it auto switches and becomes green again. So we've got about 10 seconds in between connecting and it auto switching. Now if I flick that switch or that goes off the relay, that'll trip back through. But if I switch off shore power, this relay will drop off, and that will automatically turn back on this neutral DC negative AC neutral bond, which then makes this inverter neutral earth bonded. So that is effectively creating an external relay to switch between neutral earth bonded and center tap, and once it's center tap it will auto switch. The UPS function will work. So all we need is one switch. We've got about 10 seconds. And there we go. So the UPS will work. I'm going to have to get a box for this, similar to obviously these boxes. I've just wired it all in as is for now. I've just spent an hour and a half or so just doing some trim, just some 2-inch bull nose. I carpeted the other night, and then once Maximus got home today, we went and got some trim, and then after tea I've just been cutting trim in, ready for painting. Still on with the electrics, just waiting for some parts to arrive so I can box everything in and tidy it all up. And then we need a charger. So I've just spent a couple of hours now tidying up the wiring at the back. I've got my relay circuit in. Oh, and it's all boxed in the little 2-switch consumer unit style boxes. So that is fed from mains, comes straight through to the relay. Once the relay energizes, it breaks this circuit, and that's well in time for the switchover of the Renogy 2000 watt inverter. That takes about 10 seconds to switch over onto mains, and then the minute that mains circuit is broken, that then flicks back on and creates that circuit again. And I've got a 1 amp breaker in there, just purely because I don't think it will draw any power back through from the neutral line, just in case there's ever an issue, and it does draw, it's there just purely to break and for safety. But that's looking tidy now. I just need the charger now, and I'm just talking to a company about chargers at the moment. Everything's working perfectly. Oh. Flick everything back on. There we go. So you can see that's green line now because that circuit is made. Once that relay's energized, it will isolate it and switch it over, or I can isolate it as well by breaking the circuit there with the breaker, and that will go into test situation and trip the RCBO. So we always know that my electrics, as soon as they come out of here, they move straight into the RCBO, and then that RCBO then protects everything beyond the line. When the mains come in, it comes into the RCD, and then it's got the 2-pole breaker there, and the solar is protected by the 2-pole breaker there. And what we've got then is a totally protected system. And that was the main thing, making sure that when it's on inverter power, it's safe. And like I say, the minute it switches over, I get 10 seconds where that breaks that. So it'll do that, make it, and then 10 seconds and I'm over on pass through, and that pass through is just direct. It's just direct passing through, as it's, called, the electricity, straight from the mains through the circuitry in here and through into my van then, and I don't need to do anything. And then once I've got the charger, that will go on this other line here, and that line will then power the charger, and the charger will go straight in, and we're looking at a 50 amp charger. And so yeah, it's looking tidy. I've strapped the tank in. That's strapped into the anchor points behind now. And you can see where the heater will feed through from down here once I start working on the heating and the hot water side. But for now, that's good to go. I mean, I'm not getting through the power that I'm using. I've put the line on. This DC to DC MPPT has a separate line that runs. It's not as accurate as a shunt, but it's definitely more accurate than not having it. And that then reads the voltage. And I'm at 14.1 and 13.1, and that's at the moment passing back through to the vehicle battery just on a trickle charge to top that up, and that's why it's only pulling 0.4 of an amp. That fridge freezer is using hardly anything really. I mean, with the solar on at the moment, even yesterday when it was dull and overcast, I was still pulling 1.5 amp, 2 amps on here when it was pouring down, and it doesn't sound like much, but just it's continual from the minute it comes on in the morning to the minute it goes off for the night. And if nothing else is running, only the fridge freezer and a couple of lights, I barely take anything out of the battery now. Obviously it will be different when we're in and we're moving and we're running, but it will be different again in the fact that we're driving, and 50 amp will be going back in. If I isolate the solar off, 50 amp will be going back in off the DC to DC. But I'm starting to get to a point where this is getting to finished for the electric side, all bar that charger. But that charger is not imperative at the moment. I mean, a good run in the van bangs 100 amp back in, and I'm just not using 100 amp at the minute. Once we start moving, we will be, but just for now, everything is good. Everything is good. And this Renogy DC to DC MPPT, yes, I've had my issues with Renogy. Yes, I've still got conversations going on because this inverter's got a buzz. I've sent it over to them. I don't know whether it's quite normal. It shouldn't be for a pure sine wave. I mean, not for the level that it's at, but I'm waiting for them to come back again. But I'm happy with how I'm set up here. I'm really happy with how it's all come together, and my water system is all in. I do need to flush it all through now, get a Milton in there probably, and flush it all through, because I left water in for probably 2 weeks, so it definitely all needs cleaning and flushing through. But that's where I'm at. I don't know if you can hear that now. I don't think this mic's going to pick it up. I can hear it, the mic won't with the background noise. I'm going to template up here next and cut some timber for up here, and then get the sides on, and then I can get Maximus's bed back in, because I can always get in and paint, even though it'd be a pain, or I can take this down and paint. But yeah, I want sides on, back on, his little setup, probably put him a shelf halfway up, and then he can have 2 devices sat with his little USB chargers and his light, and he will have his little den then, and it will be cool. Good stuff.